So welcome everybody back to the Wise Women Summit. My name is Patricia Lohan and I'm your host, and I am here with the fabulous Abby Wynne. I am delighted to have Abby here. Abby, we've crossed paths many times in Dublin in the mind, body, spirit scene, and we've definitely interacted a lot. I've seen her flourish before my eyes over the last few years since I first moved to Dublin, and she's doing amazing things. And I'm so grateful that you're here and that you're sharing your time with us to spread some more of your wisdom. And Abby, I'm going to just pass you over to you to explain what exactly you do and the kind of people you work with. And also, then you have the title that you wanted to talk about was Survival Guide for Healers. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your insights on this. Considering I said, well, not everyone considers themselves healers. And she's like, well, everyone is. And I totally agree. So I'm looking forward to hearing your insights. So over to you, Abby.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so great to be here. And, when I got my contract with Hay House, my dream come true. First thing I thought of, right, I really have to put my roots down in Ireland. Ireland's my home. This is where I'm from. If you can't make it at home, you can't make it anywhere else. So it's great you asked me, and I love these Irish initiatives and things that are going on. Well, what do I do and all of that? Wow, it's different for every time it comes out of my mouth. When I was starting off in networking and here's my card, I'm like, oh, how do I actually took a whole summer out just to figure out how to say what I wanted to say, and it still wasn't right, So I suppose the closest thing I could say now is I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a shamanic practitioner, I'm a Reiki master teacher, I also Seikhen master teacher, and we're not made of separate pieces. We're not. And people do all the mind work. We live in the mind all the time, but it just doesn't gel together with the rest of us. So I bring in the shamanism, bring in the Reiki, and consolidate. Go deep, deep down into the subconscious and look for those limiting beliefs. Somebody actually wrote me a message yesterday and said 99% of our thinking is from the subconscious. And I'm like, no, we don't actually think. We just are. What I do is say, right, what is your thinking? And it's almost like me and the client, we hold hands and go, right, let's go deep down and see, does it match what you're carrying? And usually when we get there, there's heaviness, there's sadness, there's grief. It might not even be theirs. And then we can go around. Sometimes I have them visualizing a landscape. We go around smashing rocks, planting flowers, and then they come out of that and they feel that something in them fundamentally has changed. And the reason, yes, we all are healers, because we all can do this for ourselves. We just don't know how. We just don't know how. So in my quest to figure all this out, I went through the phase of buying all the self-help books. There's nothing in here for me. I'd find one or two things and I'd say, oh, that was a good book. So I kind of thought, well, I want to be the person that I needed back then. I'm sure there's a whole cohort of people who then need me now, which is such a wonderful thing. And I know already because of my following on social media is just massive, very overwhelming, in fact. And my big book, the piece, my masterpiece up to this point, and I can't say, that it's going to be for the rest, because I know there's more. There's always more. Comes out next spring. And it's called How to Be Well. And the thing that shocked me the most, Patricia, was I looked, you look it up on the internet. Does anybody else have the same title as me? Nobody has written a book called How to Be Well. There's one recent one called How to Feel Better, but it's not promising you how to be well. And I'm thinking, okay, am I being like a brazen hussy out here standing up and saying, but I'm just saying, we all have the capacity to heal ourselves. This is how you do it. End of story. Either you do it or you don't do it. But you don't give it to someone else and get them to do it for you. So I'm thinking the Survival Guide for Healers was what came up when I was thinking of a title for today. Well, because it's a survival guide for living, really. But if you call it that, then it's too big of a piece underneath. So is there anything I left out or anything you think I should elaborate on more?
No, not at all. Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. That I think we all have gone through those phases of reading all those books and buying everything and going, oh, that one nugget, yes, then everything else, and that when we do go in, and we do have a choice, and I love that, where you're like, you have a choice whether to do it or not, and whether that being well, I love it. So congratulations on your book. I can't wait to read it and just see it on the bookshelves. Like, what an amazing vision to have, and to really bring it forth into the world, that huge piece of creativity. Now, the survival guide for healers, well, I suppose for us all, what would you say would be like, to people that come into you, what would be the tips, or for the women here, or and the men that could be tuning in?
For anybody listening. And even though we might be the wise women, I'm really feeling very strongly, let's welcome the men into the circle.
Yeah.
You know, and to connect to the soul inside the body as well as the body work. You know, as you were talking there, I saw the framework behind my book. Basically, I worked in adult education literacy. I was a course designer for IT. Mm-hmm. And you have to have here's the theory, here's the context, here's the practice. Here's the theory, here's the context, here's the practice. And so everything I do, I give you a practice. Mm-hmm. And the survival guide for anybody listening really is to know that if you have a practice of coming inwards every day, you have more energy when you go out. You know, and it's really, that's the basis of the fundamental nugget, is what are you investing your energy in? That's a waste of investment. If your energy was like money, you wouldn't be handing it out on the street to anyone that was asking you. And yet, are you doing that with your energy? You know?
Yes.
And the problem with those of us who are natural healers, okay, some of us are natural accountants. Some of us aren't, but we all have the ability to heal up to a point. And then some of us are healers for everybody else, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So the difference is, you know, coming inwards and going, right, do I value myself enough to be able to say no to giving my energy away willy-nilly? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So as well as the fundamental piece of what am I investing my energy in outside of me that's taking me away from my life, for want of a better word, then do I value my life enough to invest in my own life? And I truly believe my success in practice is because I don't see clients every day. Because my clients ring me up, I need to see you now. And I'm like, well, my next appointment is in 2 weeks' time. Because I'm booked out. Because I look after me and I value my time to look after me, and then I'm fully present for my clients. So I've had to renegotiate with myself, where do I fit in? And there are people out there who will pick you up off the ground, give you a Band-Aid. If that's what you need, and they're there, go to them. If you want to do deep work, then come to me. So I've had to value what I'm doing, to say, I'll miss the business of the people with the broken legs and the fallen knees in the car crash, but they're not my clients. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So to be able to value who you are and see where you fit in the world is also really helpful in then saying, well, what am I investing in and why am I investing in it? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I love that connection with the, you know, if your energy was money, and where are you putting it? Because it's a really interesting way, because people are like, well, they're not going to be like flittering it away all the time. They'll be a lot more mindful of it. And then how do you not even like make your money, but actually how do you fill that cup energetically for yourself so that you can give? You know, it is about filling that cup and having it overflowing.
Well, I'm listening to a new guy. This is another way I fill my cup. I like to listen to people and hear what they're full. And either, I don't go with that, or, oh, that's very interesting. It's the same thing, I guess, of the books. Mm. So this guy, his name is T. Harv Eker. I don't know if you've heard of him. Mm. And he's doing the secrets of the millionaire mindset, right? And so far it's like, oh my God, it's just so American. And he's getting everyone to go, true or true, true. And it's like, oh. But he said, there's so many ways to invest your money. So you guys listen to this when money is energy, right? So us rich people have more money than time. So you come to me, you tell me about a great deal. I am very interested in the great deal. But making the great deal means going to auctions, picking the houses out. Which one is this? Which one is that? I'll just write you a check. And you go to the auction and you go to the house, and I'll just sit here and reap the benefits or the rewards of that, because I have more money than time. That's a millionaire mindset. If we're going to become our own millionaires of our spiritual essence, of our soul essence, of our energy, we have to start treating it like money. It's amazing, really, when we think of it. We're afraid to ask for money, but we're afraid to give ourselves the value. So if we don't feel of value, we're never going to get the match of that in the world around us. So even anyone who's listening to this now, you might like to just take a minute to just think, well, am I investing so much of myself in the future in something that hasn't happened yet, worrying about that? And what actually is the cost of doing that?
Yeah.
And can you, just by imagining your energy investment as little hooks in the future, can you imagine unhooking that? And it's just coming back to you right now. And some of you might already be feeling a bit more substance here, because, you know, I'm sure this has happened with you, Patricia. I get people come to me all the time. What's my sole purpose? And I'm like, well, are you present in your life? What does that mean? Yeah. How do you know what lights you up if you're not even here? You know? So another survival tip is to know yourself. And when you're, you know, so being present and then starting to know yourself. So I'm hoping this is making sense.
Yeah. And
I don't have like a top 5 tips, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just a flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the, I loved how you talked about a practice to go within. And like, obviously one of those main ones would be meditation or perhaps yoga. So but what other, well, even touch on those as tools. How, you know, people would find it difficult sometimes to sit and just like meditate. And I know that there's many different types of practices under the whole meditation loop.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I get people coming in. I meditate. Really? What do you do? Oh, well, I don't know. I developed Raise Your Vibration Bootcamp. So it's an online class, and I do it 2 or 3 times a year, depending on what I'm up to. And it's a 21-day class. So for 21 days, I send an email to my participants with a task to do to help them create their own practice. And I throw everyone into a private group on Facebook, and they can all talk to each other. And then I leave the group open. Because the whole theory is, right, if you can do something for 30 days, you've got a new habit. So I give you 21 different things. And you can go, oh, I really like this thing. Oh, I didn't like that one so much. But the whole point of it is to take the moment in the day. Doesn't matter what you do. You know, I even have people take your cup of tea or your glass of water and just pull yourself out of all of your investments. And, you know, you can even imagine the light coming into the water, and the water's going to heal me. But the whole point is disconnect from what's outside you and reconnect to you. That's the whole piece. And it's really interesting. I'm reading a book at the moment about prayer. And apparently Jesus says something like, don't quote me on this, first go to the kingdom of God. Before you do anything, go to the kingdom of God. Well, if God is within us, before you do anything, come inside. And that's the practice. And the thing I find is that you can't just do this for 20 minutes in the morning. It has to become a way of life, that you're always pulling yourself back, that you're and then when you get that as a habit, as a technique, then you can incorporate the 20 minutes meditation in the day. Or you can do a yoga class. I'm sure you're aware of this, where you're completely not present.
Yeah, and you're off with the shopping, or you're off with whatever's going on in your life, or with your clients or something, and the mat is just, yeah.
But even if you're present for 4 minutes or 5 minutes, the difference is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So truly, if we start valuing the richness of our existence, the way you would value diamonds appearing in your life. Oh my gosh, this is so great. I don't want to spend these. I'm not just going to give
them away to everybody. And actually, just how you were talking about that, I remember a gentleman at a business workshop I was doing came up, and he said, you do meditation? I said, oh, yes. How do I meditate? And I said to him, you know, just sit quietly. Set an alarm on your phone for 1 minute. And just sit quietly for that 1 minute and just listen to your breath. And he said, okay, I can do that. So the following week he came back and he said, I did it every day for 1 minute. I said, great. Now top it up to 2 minutes. The following week he did 2 minutes every day. And like I think it was like we were doing a 7-week program. By the time week 6 or something came along, he said, I did 7 minutes and the alarm stopped at 5 and it flew, like it's gone so fast. But I was like, yeah, because you don't want to feel like I have to put this pressure on yourself to want to do it. It's much more like a little bit at a time. And just like you saying, it has to be part of your entire day before actually, like it can be a huge segment of that 20 minutes. But I love how you talked about the whole practice, and I think that every day is a journey into a space of being able to be mindful and present in it. And I just lost my train of thought there because I told that story.
Oh no, you're grand. No, because as you're talking, it's like something else coming up for me. You can be contained in yourself, and then whatever happens is going to happen. But there's more of you present to deal with it. Like a lot of people suffering anxiety, panic attacks and everything. I think recently, because we're all connected to each other, okay? And recently there's been a lot of terror and pain and fear, and there's been earthquakes and there's been things all around the world. And it's as if there's a pool of consciousness that we're all tapping into, as well as our own subconscious. And so when you pick up fear and pain and panic and anxiety, you're going to feel it. And so you can manage it better when you know yourself better, and you can say, okay, I really have dealt with this, so maybe it's not my panic. The first thing that I'm going to do when I feel panic is I'm going to come back into myself, and then I do a grounding technique where you connect to the ground. The idea, if you're the lighthouse shining the light and the wave comes and knocks you over and you don't have good roots in the ground, it's not going to work. So the first thing you do is connect into your roots, connect into the ground. You can imagine your feet are going through the building, through the concrete, right down in, and I have people who are like, that's not strong enough. So, okay, imagine the biggest rock you've ever seen under the ground and you wrap yourself around that. But then you come back up to you when you've done that. And this is all in my book, How to Do This. And you realize how small you are. So we're not living at our full size. We're not living in our true potential. But by feeling the connection to the biggest rock in the world under the ground, it feels safer to get big. So then you get bigger, and then suddenly the problems are smaller because there's more of us here to deal with it. And you get people who are nervous about flying or nervous about interviews, or there's conflict in relationships, and you get smaller and smaller and smaller. It is the equivalent of being powerless. It's the equivalent of being poor. It's coming from a space of lack. Most of the people out there, oh, I don't have this and I don't have this. It's because they're small in their lives and they're small in the world. So if you get bigger in the world, then you have more energy and more capacity to make better decisions.
Yeah, and it does come from that being rooted and grounded and present in yourself. I love that connection with that what often is the roots into the ground, wrapping around that big rock, that you do feel so much more confident and firmer, and like that strength, and that inner strength then comes in to be able to speak your truth around you and to see those obstacles and go, oh, okay, well, in the past I might have like shirked away from it and been afraid, but now I'm like, oh yeah, I can speak up because I know that I'm pretty firm with it.
You can, and you also realize, when you realize how small you are without judging that, it's fascinating, because then you can actually make more space in your life for you. And so that's when you realize when you're saying yes to too many things. Because that's when you start to value what you're made of. So I suppose, ironically, the more you value yourself, the more of you is present, the more you're contained. But it's also, the difference between working really, really hard and not getting anywhere, and making a calculated decision based on how you feel and your instinct, and having it work straight away. It's like being in the flow. And there's so many people have, I'm sure you're aware of this, that we do enough trouble to our own selves. We cause enough trouble, but then there are people who cause us trouble as well. So it's always good then to ask for help. So, another survival tip for anybody, particularly for healers, but for anyone, is to know that it's okay to get help, that you're not going to be able to do this on your own, and that not everybody is going to want to go to the same person for help either, because we're all different.
Yeah. And, I definitely believe that, no matter whether as healers and working with people and helping them come into alignment, we have to stay in alignment. And it is really important to realize there's a thing. I've been just like working on a thing here on my lower back, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't been able to shift this. So I've been going to see someone for it, because I really want to. I just know that I can really it's not in my power at the moment to just be like, okay, I just need to. And that's where you kind of go, all right, and look around and see the help. But I also love what you said about the people who can take away from us, and who really, that it's about being very mindful around the people that we surround ourselves with. Like really, really important. I think that will be a huge support.
But that can go to the other extreme. I mean, I got an email from one of my clients who was in great difficulties around her, and it was like,
internet is really bad. I think the weather has just
important.
Sorry, I just missed pretty much the last like 2 minutes. You said you got the email from your client. The internet just went all like one.
Okay.
So
am I back now? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I got the email, and so I said to her, if you believe that your sister is bad for you, that she is contaminating your energy, that she's making you this and making you that, well, then that's what you're offering up to the world, and that's what you're saying to her, that you're allowed to do this to me. Whereas if you decide, I can be in the presence of someone that doesn't understand me without being hurt by it, then you get stronger that way. But you have to be the one to take responsibility and make that decision. It's not an easy choice. It's not, when it's like you're responsible for what you do, you are the one that's on the street giving away your energy like sweets. You're the one doing that. So just noticing, I mean, I've said this a few times now in this interview, just notice, are you actually doing that? Stop. And then it's about delivery. It's like, how can I speak my truth? How can I say, I don't want to talk about this anymore? I have another client who was sitting at a table full of women. Now, women are great, but women can be incredibly jealous at the same time. And they all start giving out about this guy. So she said, well, I actually like him, and I'm not going to change my mind about him. And you can say whatever you want. I'm out of this conversation. The women, I'm sure you could imagine this, Patricia, the women immediately turned on her, because how dare she accuse them? So how do we hold ourselves in that situation? Because we can't eliminate all negative people from our lives. Because people drift in and out. It's like the economy. It goes up, it goes down. People are negative. It depends on where they are. But you can hold your ground when you know what your ground is. And then you don't take it personally. So they all turned on her. You could say, well, maybe they've never heard that type of speak before. Maybe they needed a kick up the arse. I don't know. But if they are immature enough to hold a grudge against this woman forever because of one thing that she said, well, then they're not the right people for her, definitely. So, I mean, in the Kabbalah, it says that gossip is just as bad a crime as murder. And so by being aware of what we're saying, what we're speaking, what we're engaging with, and we can actually pull more of our investment in.
Yeah, exactly. And there's what we're speaking with the gossip. And then I think that, what you said, I think it was at the very beginning regarding our thoughts and like what we're actually saying to ourselves, that we're very hard on ourselves, whether it's like dispersing our energy to everyone else and just like giving away like sweets in the street, but also that like in here, the mini pants inside, that I think like mini, whoever that mean girl or whoever it is that's inside, that it's being mindful of what we're putting out, but also what we're regurgitating in here.
Well, that's it. I mean, and a lot of these big spiritual teachers say, get rid of the ego. And I say, no. I say the ego is fundamental to who we are. We can't function without it. You don't get rid of it. You make friends with it.
Yes.
And if it's your best friend, you have a friend forever, and it'll be the one that says, oh, you made a mistake. Let's take the learning. Don't feel bad about it. It can just as easily say that as say, oh, you're an idiot because you made a mistake. You have to train it in. So untraining it is hard, but that's where the practice comes in every day, where you become more aware of what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're doing. And then you can catch it and go, no, I don't really mean that. And if you can't change that yourself, that's where you go to somebody where you can go into the subconscious, pull out what you're really believing and tear it apart and get rid of it or transform it or change it. so that you do believe you are good at something, and that you're allowed to be good at something, and you're allowed to be happy when people around you aren't happy, and that you're not the person who cleans up the mess after everybody all the time, and that you deserve people to clean up, for you too, and it's equal, and you start to value yourself. So we're back to valuing.
Value. Yeah. Which is that essential, even with the work I do with the women, and it's about that, and this is actually one of the themes that's come in through this Wise Women Summit, is that you are worthy and you're enough. And it's about like filling up that enoughness, that valuing you as an amazing person. And, whether it's coming to someone like Abby or whoever, anybody on the summit, to clear those limiting beliefs and that kind of, because sometimes we don't even realize we have it inside of us. Isn't that what you were saying? We just don't really...
Yeah, it is. And I'm wondering then, is it because we keep giving it away? That we don't feel like we're enough because our investment is outside of us, and we're not enough in that organization where we invest in the future, invest in our fears, invest in other people's ideas of the fears, invest in ideals that will never exist. Do you know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the way life should be. It's never going to be that way. But you pour so much into that you aren't enough because it's all out there. But when you bring it back in, then you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can really embrace that, because from all the people that I've met, it's the people who feel they are enough are the ones who don't invest in fear or the future, or who are giving so much of themselves outside of themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting way to look at it, because, I can say I am enough. If you don't believe it, maybe it's because you're not fully present to yourself.
Yeah. So I think that this, coming into presence has been really the underlying fundamental of that survival guide for years, is taking that time out of your day, for whether it is starting like that one guy who I spoke to, like taking 1 minute. And then
1 minute is better than no minute.
Exactly. And then if you can start to work it up and coming into that presence and that groundedness, and you'll certainly start to create that foundation and strength and that value for yourself and valuing your time. So Abby, would you have like any other little tip that you'd like to share in your survival guide or survival tip?
It was just making me think of, as a psychotherapist, you have to go to a supervisor for every 10 sessions that you do. And supervision, my supervisor calls it supervision, because she's looking down at what I was doing, and she gives a third party view. So for healers that are in business, that are seeing clients, other traditions, I don't know, acupuncture, reflex, there are no supervisors required because it's not state legislated. Mm-hmm. or even self-regulated. So I do believe that for you to keep an eye on you, to feel supported if something should come up, that everybody should have a mentor or a supervisor or a spiritual director, as Carolyn Miss called, somebody that you know that is of service to you. Mm-hmm. Because if you are of service to everybody else, you need somewhere where you can completely go, oh, this happened, rah, 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 get it all out there. Then they give you a different perspective, and then you leave with that feeling of, yes, I did my best and I know where I'm going and I know how to do that. And when a woman like Carolyn Miss says that she has a spiritual director and she's seen him 2 hours a week for 15 years and she's continuing to do this, and for me, she's at top of her game. Mm-hmm. You can never be high enough to not need one. You always need to have somebody teaching you things or being there for you. So that's something that would be good as well for people to consider.
Totally. And I know that just even from my own experience, that in the fields that I've trained in, there isn't particularly that isn't that system that you have to have someone to go to. But I have found that I've ended up like finding someone by default, because you just need that, like, who looks after the healer, who's like watching out, who's that support for the healer.
And I do find even if it's a barter, it's not the same.
No.
Because sometimes your boundaries get blurry and it's like, well, hang on, it's my session, but I'm helping you. Whereas if it's someone that you go to, it's clean, that you pay them and you're there and it's your time. however that looks or whatever that might be, then you leave feeling that you received, because life is about giving and receiving. And if we don't receive, then we're not very good at, we're waiting for thank yous all the time. It's like making the food for everybody, pouring it on the table, and then you don't eat, and then you start resenting them because they're not hungry and you're starving,
Oh my God, yes, so true. So brilliant. I love it. I love that. I love that like final comment, and to really get into a space of like that we do have to just come into our own bodies and be present and look after ourselves, like fill up that cup in whatever way, because I know for sure that, for some people, the work that you do is going to be like, oh yeah, this is what I really want. But also there's so many different modalities, and that's where we're all different people. And we will like be drawn or led to whatever that is, and to acknowledge that that there's, because we're different, there's all different things, there's different modalities. So whatever you're drawn to is the one that's going to like help you.
Absolutely. But the most important thing for everybody is to know that if it doesn't feel safe and it doesn't feel right, then it isn't.
Yeah.
And to not just give your power to someone because they're the one who you're paying. And if you feel this isn't the one for me, then stop. And that's really, really important to also say. In fact, I wrote a whole appendix to the end of my first book, and I've requested that it goes into my second book, How to Find a Good Therapist. And I've split it up into body workers and psychotherapists, and questions to ask a Reiki master. And based on their responses to you asking the questions, if they're confident and strong and good, that's the person for me. But if you, as the client, don't ask the questions and you just hand your power over, that can be dangerous. So I'm all for educating everybody.
Educating everyone, yeah.
In saying no.
In saying no, yeah, exactly, and holding on to your power. So, well, thank you so much, Abby, for giving the time to share with us, because,
it's my valuable time.
It's your valuable time. And I know for sure that everybody listening will definitely have had a few little mini aha moments during it. And I think that's what this is all about, is just those little moments of awakening and a little bit about, oh, am I giving my energy away like candy on the street? And if you are, start bringing that sweets back in and nourishing yourself. And thank you.
And knowing that they're diamonds, that they're not sweets, it's worth more than that. Yes.
Exactly. So, turning the sweets into diamonds. I love it. I love these diamonds. So thank you. First of all,
it's my pleasure. Great fun.
And I am so grateful for everybody who's watching this interview today with Abby as part of the Wise Woman Summit. We've had amazing speakers on already and loads more to come. I promise you that you will be just having aha moments and inspirational and transformational thoughts, and, hopefully taking action on some of the insights that you have heard today and also over the whole summit. So if you've enjoyed it, please share this Wise Woman Summit with any women or men that you think could be interested in Abby's wisdom or all of the amazing women that are part of the summit. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next summit, the next video. Bye for now.